Hey everyone, we're here to dive into segment 2 of episode 13 of the Get the Scoop with Smirks podcast. My name is Garrett McBride, and I'm looking forward to chatting with my colleagues and friends, Jessica Warden and Zach Schwint, about some of the experiences we've shared at Smirks, supporting our customers with products that fit their needs and budgets, and helping engineer supply chain solutions. In this industry, crop and market conditions can and do change quickly. Many of our customers have found themselves in situations where they're trying to decide when to buy, how long to contract, how to deal with surging commodity prices or ocean freight rates. Here at Smirks, and quite frankly, in most aspects of my life, I would characterize myself, and I think my friends here would agree, as being very risk averse. These cautious tendencies come from more than 2 decades of experience in the CPG world, working across a multitude of categories and many functional roles. For as long as I can remember, I've spent the majority of my professional life managing risks, developing supply chain redundancies, and ensuring product quality, all while optimizing product costs, managing operational budgets, and hitting crazy project timelines. To our listeners out there who might have the same challenges, we hope this segment will speak to you. Hey, you guys ready to rock on this?
Ready to roll.
Ready.
So let's be real. Anyone with a couple of bucks in their bank can buy something from somebody and sell it to somebody else. That's typically how the world of ingredient trading works. Smirk's goal is not just to be another transactional cog in your machine. We strive to be a true partner, adding as much value as we can to help your business thrive. One way we do this is by identifying and implementing cost effective product solutions. I have a unique perspective on this topic because before joining the Smirks team, I was a Smirks customer. I'd like to think I was the most important Smirks customer. That's arguable. In fact, Smirks was one of my primary ingredient suppliers for a number of years. While running ops for a high growth retail brand a few years back, Smirks actually took the time to learn enough about what we were doing in our production to be able to suggest alternate specifications for the coconut oil we were using. This suggestion helped us to significantly reduce product costs while maintaining the same high quality standards that we demanded. It's that kind of above and beyond service and attention to detail that makes Smirk stand out, amongst the competition.
That's great insight. Thanks, Garrett. And a story that comes to my mind related to vanilla is when we helped a customer transition from single fold vanilla extract to a double fold vanilla extract. And for those who don't know, that basically means that they transition to a product that's twice as strong as the single fold in terms of the flavor. And it saved them a solid 30% by doing so. In a nutshell, the customer was using a generic vanilla extract, and they knew vanilla was a much more complicated category than they had originally known, and they wanted to use a little bit less liquid in their candy formula. We sent off a few samples of our double fold Madagascar extract, and they found that the product worked fantastic for them, and they were able to use about half of the liquid that they had been using while still getting the exact same amount of vanilla flavor that they were looking for, specifically because they were using a product with greater strength. It's really cool to see the project, come together full circle.
Yeah, that's a great example of how Smirks engineers solutions for our partners. Appreciate that example. Let's talk contracts and contracting. For those of you not aware, Smirks has a team of really smart people constantly monitoring dozens of markets to provide you with the best advice possible in real time when it comes to determining when to pull the trigger and how much of a given item to contract. We have a network of contacts all over the world providing data and information about weather, growing conditions, crop conditions, and general supply and demand to help you make the most informed decisions possible. Hey, Jessica, where do you see Smirks adding value to our partnerships?
That's a great question. I think one way that we add value is kind of like you mentioned, is we take a lot of pride in knowing what's happening with the markets. It's such a could flip on a dime, and it's actually one of the things that I've come to appreciate about how much Smirks takes time to learn some of this stuff, because like you said, anybody can trade, but only certain takes a certain person who can kind of go in there, look and see what's happening, have the right connections at origin, to really make I guess sense out of some of these things and really empower the decision making process at our level, but then also at their customer level. So I think a great example that comes to mind is, how our team has navigated some of the ups and downs of, certain markets like coconut, for example. And because of how we're able to navigate some of those markets, we've been able to help customers hedge risk. And a lot of that is really driven by the diversity in our supply chain relationships. So, during the pandemic, across the industry, we all saw, the crazy supply chain disruptions. And for me, I was actually brand new to Smirks at the time and brand new to the industry. And so I really came to appreciate that time as, for the learning curve that it offered, where I really kind of leaned into watching some of our management team where they focused making sure they were communicating with customers, even when, we had bad news, saw how much it made a difference that, our team was able to continue to honor contracts because we could pivot to another, point of origin while still feeling comfortable with the, food safety qualifications of that supply chain, simply because we, been boots on the ground at some point, or, we just had this very thorough process that made us comfortable with some of those decisions. And so now if you flash forward 4 years to today, it's not a secret that we've been experiencing some of this, similar supply disruptions in the coconut world that, we saw kind of in 2020. So whether it's ocean freight volatility or surges in demand from other countries, shortages of raw material, coconut has been a tough one so far this year to navigate. But I think Smirks, because of the market information that we took, we really try to take a proactive approach. We saw some of those leading indicators coming into, 2024 late in last year and early in this year. And so our team made a point to reach out to some of our customers that we knew were heavy users of these items. And we really tried to help them make informed decisions on when it was a good time to buy and when it's a good time to just kind of cover what's needed. And really, we just help to be that partner so that, we can get from January 2024 to December and have as, minimal disruptions as possible. And so I think the last piece of the puzzle to understand is that there's always those things that are beyond our control as an importer. And there's always things that are out of control down the line of that supply chain. And so that's very fortunate where our strong supply chain relationships come into play and, on both sides of the coin. So where we're able to source up from multiple points of origin from the same commodity, we're able to kind of ensure some stability, but maintaining that open and honest communication with our customers, especially when it does come to, some of those bad news things that are out of our control, it really helps us navigate everything together. And so even when it's a turbulent market, the different strategic planning and partnerships, we can really continue to deliver value, and in a lot of cases, savings to our customers, and just really help with that full picture planning.
Yeah, I bet you got a career's worth of on the job training just in those 2 years
Yeah.
of COVID. It's amazing.
Yes. They used to joke about, like, remember before COVID when you could do this and this and this, and I was just like, I have no, idea what that's
Days are
like.
long gone and they're
And then
never
now
coming
we've
back.
kind of, gotten to some of those, normalized times where it's like, oh, this is what you guys were talking
Normal.
about.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Zach, what
My
do you
turn.
think? Where do you see Smirks adding value to our partners and our relationships?
Yeah, I think when working on contracts specifically, price, quantity, ingredient specification are all obviously very important pieces. But contract duration, I think, is something that often gets overlooked. For some companies, they prefer to contract, January to December, covering a full calendar year. Some cover their needs quarterly. Others contract based off of, different crop cycles. For example, during the months of August and September, like we're in right now, we see a lot of the the Northern Hemisphere crops being harvested, such as, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, most grains, pumpkin seeds, various dried fruits. So at Smirks, I think one of our biggest strong points is that we'll help you, make decisions and how long, to contract, because, obviously you want to capture cost savings when you can, but you also don't want to run yourself short and then not have stock when you need it. So there's all these different, scenarios that could play out. And I think, our team is good at sitting down with you and kind of explaining, where the market's at. If your product, for example, contains sunflower seeds and you're growing at a rate of whatever it is, 30%, year over year, you might want to contract a little extra, stuff like that. So just being a partner in the sense of, helping you make decisions that are actually going to benefit you. So,
Yeah, I think it's all about helping the customer and helping our partners navigate any challenge that might come up, particularly on the supply chain
Right.
side.
I was going to interject with conversation
Please do.
relating to. I was just going to say that you hit the nail on the head when you talked about in your example, Garrett, as a customer, where Smirks took the time to understand what you were doing as a customer. I think that's sometimes where our strengths, shine through, and then just where we can even grow with customers from start to finish, from when we start working with them to as that relationship evolves, is trying to find out what you're doing with the items, how fast you're growing. Is there a SKU that's contracting, getting smaller in year over year usage? What does reformulation look like when something's really expensive one year and it's not as expensive the next year? And so that's the piece where Smirks is willing to sit down with you and look at that stuff and really invest the time into it, instead of just take that phone call and say, oh, you need this, sure, here's the price, there you go, sales out the door. It's, oh, you're using this item now, tell me more about it. And so I think
right.
that's where we can really shine with some of our customers.
Yeah, it's really huge from, on the branded side and the manufacturing side. So many ingredient suppliers are just that. They supply an ingredient, it's a transaction, you point A to point B, it's done. A lot of times in the manufacturing world, the branded side, we don't know if there are other options, if there are better options, there are less costly options. It's so helpful to have somebody who's an expert, in the field, to provide us with advice and allow us to make decisions that help to strengthen our business. So that was gigantic from the customer side. Much appreciated. So when it comes to challenges, speaking of challenges, supply chain challenges are constantly popping up everywhere we look. Smirks works to ensure that, to the best of our ability, we have redundant supply chains for all of our staple ingredients. Coconut products are a great example of that. We keep coming back to coconut. As you can tell, that's a strong suit here at Smirks. We import a large portfolio of coconut products, including oils, desiccated coconut, coconut cream, coconut milk, coconut sugar, coconut flour. Sounds like Forrest Gump here. Coconut butter, coconut aminos, coconut nectar, and more. There's a ton of products that come from coconut. They call it the tree of life for a reason. In our years of importing coconut products, we've pretty much seen it all. Over time, we've developed and expanded our supply chains to encompass numerous origins that are geographically separated from one another, to provide protection when the inevitable issues pop up. We currently have reliable coconut supply chains established in the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Vietnam. There's a typhoon in the Philippines, we can pivot our purchasing to Sri Lanka or another origin, for example.
Right.
Gigantic competitive advantage that Smirks offers over the competition. Smirks also encourages our customers to onboard and proactively get their quality assurance approval for multiple suppliers within our supply chain, to minimize the risk and to maximize their ability to be agile. We also recommend that customers contract key ingredients whenever it makes sense to do so, not only as a means of providing cost stability, but also to help keep our customers and our partners' needs met, even when conditions aren't optimal.
Again, one of the places where we add value significantly over, a potential other importer or trader is we take a lot of time internally when we know what our customers' needs are across the board from everybody that we work with, which helps when we're contracting. We don't, always have contracts, but we have a really good idea of what customers are using and how much. But when we can get that more information from our customers, and when we have contracts that we know we need to meet, it helps us with planning internally, to where we're able to make very nimble, quick buying decisions. In other cases where we wouldn't be willing to take the risk, or maybe another importer wouldn't be willing to take the risk just because of what we've seen. So when we're planning, there's a lot of challenges that we kind of take into account. I would say top of year, we were talking a lot about what El Nino was doing. You guys can jump in and touch on that, but we did a lot of internal planning around that, and Garrett, I think you're pretty integral in some of that. So
this year El Nino's impact has been very noticeable. From various growing regions having reduced yields on the crop side, all the way to the Panama Canal not having enough water to function properly, and the need for the authorities over that canal to reduce the number of ships going through every day. Weather has the potential to cause immeasurable impact, negatively and positively, and we need to be ready to act when something unforeseen like a weather event rears its ugly head. A lot of other things out of our control that we plan around using the geographic diversity of multiple supply chains, geopolitical conflicts, like the war in Ukraine, or really any other unrest in growing regions, has the potential to stop shipments, from any given area or any given port. And we need to be able to pivot. We need to be agile and have a backup plan for our backup plan, so that these things that pop up don't impact our partner's business, in a horrible way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's so interesting. Again, I've only been involved in the industry for 5 years, and just the things that have popped up in that amount of time, it just shows that it's always going to be something, even if you make it through one conflict or one weather event, then by the time that clears up, there's another thing. So if nothing else, having the team that we've put together with the QA team that we have, and then like the pieces where we have the risk mitigation and the risk aversion folks on our team, along with the people who are very optimistic. And so just having that balance of people on our team is also what makes it interesting, where we navigate. It's like the human element, I guess, is the best thing that I'm trying to iterate here is we have a really fun mix of a team that, as we start to kind of look at these challenges, like, oh, that's how we were able to.
And it's cool because we have a pretty experienced group here at this point, especially after the last 4 years where, crisis management's been like whack-a-mole. There's always something. It's just, where is it going to pop up and when?
Right.
Between all of us and our various experience levels, we've seen most of these things and have, a pretty good idea how to navigate the challenges. I think we're pretty well positioned to succeed.
I think the new organic regulations have been one that, we saw a lot of brokers and whatnot that haven't quite,
for sure,
adapted as fast as we had hoped they would. And we actually recorded a separate podcast about that as well. But I think that was another area where we took a lot of time to educate both our customers and some of our broker partners and suppliers on, meeting these new organic rules. So just being kind of at the forefront of the information has been, key for our team.
Yeah, prior planning is so important. I think that's something we did pretty well.
Definitely. To the point where it was like, that was, March when that was launched, and it feels like we've been talking about it forever because we kind of had been. And so it feels far away, it's only August and it's newly launched, but for Smirks, it's like, oh yeah, that's in the rearview mirror at this point. So
awesome, guys. Really appreciate the input. I think it's clear that Smirk's goal here is to be the best partner we can possibly be and support our customers and our partners, at the highest level, and to really look out for the success of their business and the opportunities that they have. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to episode number 13 of Get the Scoop with Smirks podcast. Please continue listening to catch our market report for August 2024.